Good morning and welcome to the DSR Daily. I'm your host for today, Riley Fessler, joined as always by Minna Stein. How was your weekend, Minna?
My weekend was good. I wish it wasn't Monday, but beggars
Yeah,
can't be choosers.
same here, but here we are, which means that we're at the start of another week of wonderful DSR content. So, that's something to look forward to, right?
Of course.
And we had some big news over the weekend, so let's go ahead and just kick it off. Several senior staff members on Mark Robinson's campaign for North Carolina governor, including his general consultant, campaign manager, and finance director, resigned following the CNN report revealing inflammatory comments Robinson allegedly made on a pornographic website over a decade ago. Robinson is accused of making offensive remarks about race, gender, and slavery, as well as expressing an affinity for transgender pornography, despite his history of anti-trans rhetoric. Robinson has denied making the comments, but the scandal has led some Republicans to urge him to withdraw from the race, though the North Carolina GOP continues to support him. Despite the controversy and staff departures, Robinson insists his campaign remains strong. I don't believe him. Losing three of your biggest staffers all in one go, your campaign is not strong after that. It's got, it's a disaster for him. I don't see how he wins this, but I guess it's always possible.
It is a disaster for him, but I just don't understand why these people were working for him in the first place. It's not like he didn't say inflammatory things before this report came out about all of his porn site comments. So I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about this whole departure, only because it was very clear to me that these people were only working for him because of money that I'm sure would still be available to them. Oh, and this
Yeah.
is what pushed them over the edge. I mean, I know it's bad, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he wasn't a really bad candidate and force for not good before this report came out.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know what their intentions were, but I think for precisely that reason, this tells me that it's not out of a moral high ground. It's out of self-preservation. It's
Yeah.
rats leaving the sinking ship. I think they know that he's cooked and they're just getting out before it's a huge stain on, it's an even bigger stain on their resume.
Oh, good thing they got out before it was bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think they don't want a losing campaign attached to their resume, so they're trying to get out before. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have a true moral objection to what
I
he said,
don't
but
think so.
yeah, I don't think so either. As you said, you know, he said terrible stuff before. I
Yeah.
doubt they had a come to Jesus moment because of this, but that's just our 2 cents.
Well, we'll see. Maybe he wins, maybe he loses, but let's hope it's loses. And let's hope it has an impact on the presidential election, right? It could, like we talked about on Friday, and that would be great for Harris. So, definitely a lot of things to stay tuned for in that race. And speaking of forces of not good, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Republican leaders are leveraging state resources to combat Amendment 4, which seeks to overturn the state's 6-week abortion ban. Their efforts include a state-run website, and investigations into petition signers have sparked legal battles with the amendment supporters who allege government overreach. DeSantis argues that the amendment would eliminate essential abortion regulations, while proponents claim it restores rights lost after Roe v. Wade was overturned. As the election nears, Amendment 4 needs 60% support to pass and will be on the same ballot as Donald Trump, who opposes the 6-week ban, but is distancing himself from Florida's abortion policies. Yeah, this is really bad. I'm from Florida, like I've mentioned many times. I have lots of friends who still live in Florida who have texted me, like, have you heard about how the Florida government is investigating people who signed petitions under the guise of wanting to make sure their signatures are correct? It's just really not a good situation, and it makes me hopeful that the voters in Florida will turn out to make sure that this amendment gets passed, and it makes me hopeful that Florida is still in play, and that the voters will revolt against this kind of treatment. So we'll see what happens, but not good things happening in Florida, which seems like always not good things are happening there these
Yeah.
days.
The part of this I find interesting is the investigations into petition signers. Seems to
Yeah.
be a strategy the far right is embracing more frequently. We had a story last week of the Ohio sheriff who was encouraging people to write down the addresses of people with Harris signs in their yards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's terrifying stuff. And the fact that this is obviously even worse, it's a government run program as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
what you could say is a rogue sheriff encouraging people to do this. But the adoption of this tactic is scary.
Yeah.
And it's not at all surprising given the authoritarian rhetoric of many on the right. But, you know, talking about it and actually doing it are two separate things, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
And we need to be wary, and we need to call it out every time that we can to show people that may not be paying as much attention how authoritarian and scary it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that should be non-negotiable disqualification for public office of trying to persecute your political opponents because of their beliefs.
Absolutely.
Well, switching things overseas, the French government has unveiled a new cabinet led by Conservative Prime Minister Michel Barnier, following months of political uncertainty after parliamentary elections resulted in a hung parliament. Despite a left-wing coalition winning the most seats, it failed to secure a majority, leading to protests from leftist groups who argue the new conservative-led government defies the voters' will. While the far-right National Rally has no direct representation in the cabinet, Conservative Bruno Retailleau's appointment as Interior Minister is seen as a win for their agenda. Barnier's leadership will be tested as he navigates a divided parliament and prepares for his first policy address on October 1st. Emmanuel Macron. I'm not a fan of this decision by him to box out the left and instead make compromise with the right wing. Obviously, I'm left wing, so I don't appreciate that. But very weird concession to the far right here. I kind of question why he did this, and obviously I don't have as deep an understanding of French politics as I do American politics, but it just seems like a bizarre choice. I can't imagine that voters are going to be particularly happy about this, given
Mm-hmm.
that the left-wing coalition won. It was the main reason that the far right was kept out of the election, so it seems like a complete slap in the face. I can't imagine this coalition is going to last long, but we'll see. I mean, I think Macron is kind of just hanging on by a thread at this point. I have to imagine his days are numbered soon.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, there's not a big figurehead outside of the National Rally to really serve as a I don't know, I can't think of the word. There's not really a big figurehead outside of the far right to succeed Macron should he be voted out. So it's kind of a big conundrum in French politics. We need to see some bigger leadership on the left and center right there, but I don't think this is the way to go about it. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how this shakes out.
Yeah, it hurts when the left gets boxed out, even in France. We feel for them over there. In keeping things abroad, the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has escalated significantly, with intense exchanges of fire marking the most serious clashes on the Israeli-Lebanese border in nearly a year. Israeli airstrikes targeted Hezbollah's positions in response to missile attacks that struck deeper into Israel than in more than 2 decades, prompting air raid sirens and civilian evacuations. In retaliation for recent Israeli actions, including airstrikes that killed senior Hezbollah commanders, the group vowed to continue its attacks until Israel ends its military operations in Gaza. Both sides are digging in, with Israel ramping up its military presence along the border and signaling potential ground operations, while Hezbollah declares an open-ended battle against Israel, raising fears of a wider conflict. There was also a story last week that we didn't talk about that I think was published in the Washington Post about the threat of World War III. And it's something that a lot of people have been talking about, like if Iran gets involved and we help Israel and Russia helps Iran. I wish David was on this podcast because I feel like he would have a lot of thoughts and takes about that article and that idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think World War III is a stretch. I mean, it's something that gets thrown around all the time, anytime any conflict escalates. Um, I don't see that happening, but I do think the fears of a greater regional fight are rising. For more about this from experts, check out our show last week where we had on Kim Gaddis and Mark Polymeropoulos from our own Above Average Intelligence to talk about the pager attack and more specifically what that kind of told them about what might come next. And their main answer was, we're not really sure at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. Obviously, we have a lot more information now as these airstrikes and kind of more posturing has taken place. It seems more likely that something will actually happen, that the conflict will expand, which is something I don't think anybody wants. I'm not confident that the Israeli people want that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I don't know. Alon Pincus, our good friend, would have more to say about that. Unfortunately, he's not with us today, but I'm sure he's been saying things about this on Twitter and in other media appearances. So go check out what he has to say. But I don't know who wants this. I don't know who this helps other than Benjamin Netanyahu and clinging to power as long as there's a conflict going on.
Definitely.
That seems to be, that's, my very uninformed opinion on the matter, but it's scary. This continues to spiral and there continues to be more possibility for greater escalation. And you have to wonder at what point the U.S. gets more directly involved, as you alluded to, Minna. I don't see boots on the ground from the U.S. unless things really spiral. But, we never know. It's hard to say. But I'm not afraid of World War III just yet. But, my heart goes out to people in the region who do not want this conflict, but are nonetheless going to suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the U.S. for a final story, former President Donald Trump has stated that he does not plan to run again in 2028 if he loses the upcoming election against Kamala Harris.
Pity.
In an interview, Trump indicated that a loss this November would likely mark the end of his political career, though he expressed hope for victory. This marks a rare acknowledgement of potential defeat from Trump, who is typically focused on rallying his supporters with promises of success. Recent polls show Harris leading Trump nationally and in key battleground states, and her campaign has outpaced him in fundraising. However, Trump still holds strong support on key issues like the economy and immigration, though his comments, including remarks that Jewish voters could be to blame for a loss, have drawn criticism from numerous groups. I don't know if I believe that he'd be done. I mean, he would be 82 in 2028. Which seems far too old to run for president. And also, Trump is not in the best of health. I find it hard to believe that he would be in any shape to run in 2028. But,
right.
I don't think he's in much of a shape to run this time either. So I'm not sure that would stop him. But I don't know. It's encouraging that he says he wouldn't run again. I'll believe it when I see it. I think that's the best tact to take with former President Donald Trump.
I agree.
But it's a rare kind of indirect admission that he could lose, which, as I said, is not necessarily his style. But I don't know. It's hard to really say anything about the future. I think it's an interesting story, kind of an interesting look into what's going through his mind, that he is thinking about this. I mean, it could also be that he just was gish galloping some other question.
I think he just says whatever. And I think if pressed further on saying this, he'll say, I was joking. I was
Yeah, or
joking. I didn't mean it,
that, or he'll say
which
he
is what
didn't
he
say
always
it,
says. Yeah,
and then
exactly. I
he's
said
gonna
that.
win, so it doesn't matter. But it is an interesting interesting thing to think about. A hopeful glimpse at a post-Trump future. Can't wait. Can't wait until we're there. But
I hear this story and I'm like, promise.
the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. We can't.
Whoa, Harris Walls shirt. Sorry, not to
I
interrupt.
know. Yeah,
For
my
our
Harris Walsh
listeners.
shirt, a lovely lavender color on the font, which I did not notice when buying it, but it's a nice shirt.
Beautiful. For our listeners, you've got to get over to the YouTube and check this
Check
out.
out my cool shirt and see how
Check
tired I
out.
look. I did stay up way too late last night because I was watching Shogun for about
Well,
for
David will
about
be especially sad he missed this
yeah
episode.
for about 5.5 hours. Um, not my healthiest decision, and I still didn't finish because I had 45 minutes to go in the last episode, and it was like 12:20, and I was like, I'm really tired. I should probably go to sleep so I can work tomorrow and function as an adult. So nobody spoil it for me. I'm finishing it tonight. Can't wait. But that is why I look so tired for our viewers.
For our viewers. Well, please, listeners, become viewers. Leave us comments about Shogun on our YouTube.
Yes,
We'd
but no
love to see them.
spoilers.
But no spoilers,
I'll
exactly.
be very mad if I get it spoiled.
Yes.
Because I've somehow avoided it so far. But great show. Everyone should watch it. That's all I have to say on that matter. Did you watch anything interesting this weekend, Minna?
Ooh, great question. No, but I got tickets to see Whiplash is coming back to the theater this week. So if anyone is interested in seeing a great movie on the big screen, which I did not see the first time it was in the theater, I watched it at home. So I'm really excited to see it on the big screen. Great
I've never
movie.
seen it.
Really?
So maybe this is my chance.
Would highly recommend.
Huh. Yeah. I might go see that this week. The more you know.
Look at that.
Well,
making plans for you this week right on the pod.
Anyone who wants to go see Whiplash with Minna, comment. Minna will go see Whiplash with you if you comment. Funny comment.
Plans.
That is my promise to you, our faithful listeners. I won't see it with you, but Minna will.
Exactly. Because I'm a better host.
Yeah, Minna's more of the people than I am.
You truly.
I'll be seeing it in my ivory tower. Well, that is all we have for you today on the DSR Daily, but we have plenty more Deep State Radio goodness coming to you every day for the rest of the week. So be sure to stay tuned. We already have a daily blast in your feeds this morning, so go check that out. But we'll be back with you for more this afternoon, so stay tuned. And until then, bye-bye.